Hi, in this demo, let's invite a user called Bob and then give him access only just to create a virtual machine. He won't be having any access to create a load balancer or edit a firewall rule and so on. So when I actually logged in as GCP Yoda, not that I'm logged in as GCP Yoda at gmail.com, I'm logged into this particular dashboard, right? And note that when I signed up during the demo, Google actually created my first project, which is this. And then in one of the demos, we also created another project called Silly Billy. I'm going to choose Silly Billy so that it will be easy to recognize and from here on, whatever resource that I'm going to create, like virtual machines, load balancer and whatnot, this will actually fall under this project, right? And whatever user Bob is going to create, that also falls under this project called Silly Billy. Now let's go ahead and then click the start menu and go to IAM, and then from here we can add a user Bob here. So I'm just going to click add and let's invite Bob. And then roles, and remember that roles is a list of permissions, and I'm interested in the compute engine. And in here I have different type of roles, right? I have compute instance admin, load balancer admin, and I have beta roles as well. I'm not interested in the beta in this course, and throughout the course we will be only focusing on the roles that is actually in production, which is compute instance admin version 1, and I'm going to click add. Now the role is actually granted, and as you can see, gcpminion@gmail.com is actually given access, right, for compute instance admin. But this doesn't stop here. Now before proceeding further, let's just log in as user Bob in a separate window. Okay, I'm logged in. As you can see, this is the dashboard, and if you note here, it clearly says you do not have permission to see this information for App Engine, you do not have permission to see this information for SQL, and so on, right? And that's because we have given access only to the compute engine. So let's go and see how this works, right? So if I'm going to click the start menu again, and I'm going to click compute engine, and then I'm going to click create, right? And then let's give it a name. Let's type Bob's VM1. Names must be lowercase, numbers and hyphens. Okay, VM-1. And zone, it's up to you. If you're based in US, you can use that zone. It basically depends on where your customer is located, right? So if my customers are in Europe, then I will probably choose one of these zones. So I'm just going to leave it as default. And virtual machine type, we will go through all of these in detail in the compute engine section, but for this demo I'm just going to use just 1 GB of memory, and then boot disk. Now this is where it gets interesting, right? It says by default the service account is compute engine default service account. Now if we go back to GCP Yoda screen, and if I click service accounts, we will see this particular service account. That's because I was testing earlier, and when I created the virtual machine, Google actually created this compute engine default service account by default, and it does it for a reason, so that this compute engine service account will have access to all these resources. For example, it will have read-only access to Google Cloud Storage, it will have write access to write compute engine logs, it will write access to publish metric data, so that Google can give you that kind of data, which will help you to troubleshoot and monitor, right? So let's go back to user Bob screen, and then let's continue here. Note that under service account, you also have another option, which is no service account. You can still choose no service account and the VM will be successfully created. But if you choose no service account, then this virtual machine will not have access to write to compute engine logs and so on. So it will be difficult for you to troubleshoot or monitor should a problem occur, right? So I'm going to leave it the default, which is the compute engine default service account. And then access scopes. Access scopes came into existence before IAM, so it is there, but we will look into access scope a bit more briefly when we move to our virtual machine section. And then let's, on the firewall here, you can actually give allow HTTP traffic, if you're running a web server. But here is a question for you. If I choose this one of these two options, or even both of them, right, do you think the VM creation will be successful? If you think that the VM creation will fail, You're absolutely right, and that's because remember that we have given user Bob only the permission to create a virtual machine. We have not given user Bob permission or role to actually manage the firewall or any other stuff. So I'm not going to choose here, but we are still missing one criteria, which is if a user is managing a virtual machine which is running under the service account, then that user also has to be granted a specific role which is mentioned in one of the Compute Engine IAM role document, and that role is actually IAM.service account actor role, right? So without that, without giving user Bob this particular role, the VM creation will fail. So let me actually give you a demo of how the problem occurs here. So we have given the user we have given the virtual machine name, we have chosen the zone, and then the machine type, and then the boot disks, and then access scope is set to default, service account is set to default, firewall is not chosen. So I'm going to create, and this will basically fail, and that's because I have not given user Bob the IAM dot service account actor role, which is this service account actor role. So let's just wait for it to fail, and in fact this will just keep spinning, right? And if you click the notification here, it will say here the user does not have access to service account plus, ask a project owner to grant you the IAM service account actor role on the service account, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just dismiss that, and then I'm going to go back to my Yoda, which is my master account here, and then I'm going to drill down to start menu, and then I'm going to go to IAM and admin, and then I am going to click the service account here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on choose that, and then I'm going to click permissions, and then I'm going to add GCP minion. And then I'm going to give them service account actor role, service account actor, and then add, and GCP minion is given service account actor role, right? So now I'm going back to my Bob's screen, and I'm going to click create, and the same thing goes again. I'm just going to keep the same VM name and everything else the default, and then I'm going to click create. And in a matter of minutes, if not in seconds, usually it's in seconds when I've been testing, usually it's so fast, it's sometimes in seconds, the VM gets created, right? And now you can see that the VM got successfully created. Now you can log in through SSH and whatnot. So that's how we actually add a member, and when we add a member, we have to be mindful of certain requirements. So what I would suggest you to is always refer to that document, Google Engine document here, right? It will clearly say, okay, this is what you have to do. You must grant the IAM service account actor role, and so on for different roles, right? So thank you for listening. Now in the next demo, let's create a custom role.